President Trump saying that he took steps before his inauguration to separate himself from his business empire and the appearance of a conflict of interest. But the New York Times reporting that the president is still closely tied to his company, that a trust containing his business assets is still under his own Social Security number, and that Mr. Trump can revoke the authority of his trustees at any time. Let's bring in now David Schwartz and Keisha Hebben, both defense attorneys and former prosecutors. Keisha, I'll start with you. So what about that the President Trump's personal Social Security number is still being listed on the trust? What does that mean?
Okay, well, legally, he does not have an obligation to separate from his businesses or assets as president, but most presidents do because they don't want the appearance of a conflict of interest. You know, it's just safer to say I'm here in public office, I'm not doing anything to use my power for the personal gain of my business. So I think it just puts doubt in the citizens' minds to say, okay, how much can we trust President Trump?
Well, like Keisha said, there's no obligation to divest assets. So that's number one. That's paramount here, that he has no obligation whatsoever. However, these are not passive business interests, and that's what separates him from other presidents. Other presidents were able to put investments into an account and have a blind trust. These are assets that have to be managed and managed properly. So, of course, he's going to appoint his son, who's been in the business, and his treasurer, who's been in the business, that he could trust to manage these assets.
But, you know, he claims that he's not going to have any input, he's not going to watch it. But come on, he's at dinner with his son. You know they're going to talk about, well, how's this business doing? And other presidents do use a blind trust when they have businesses because they don't want that appearance. So I just think it doesn't, especially because Donald Trump has over 500 companies and foreign companies at that. So you have to be really careful.
Oh, I mean, we have, but Keisha, you know, so first of all, it's speculation that they're not going to put up a wall. So it's just complete speculation that they're going to be at the dinner table and they're going to talk about it. However, again, everyone should understand the president has no obligation to divest himself from this situation, so he doesn't have to do a blind trust.
And I believe the article might have stated that the president may be getting, you know, daily reports on the pluses and gains of his or losses of his business.
Right, and one of the things that the president has to be careful of is there is a prohibition of receiving gifts from like foreign countries or things like that. So if he's monitoring the daily gains and losses of these businesses, and it just, to me, sets him up. And I think presidents use the blind trust because they don't want to ever be in a position that someone can say, well, this company did X, Y, and Z, so you received a gift as president.
The mere monitoring of profits and losses is not managing a business. Managing a business is making decisions about the business. Being reported profits and losses, that's not a problem under the law. It really isn't.
He's going to tell his children, oh, that's losing, do this, change that. We know. Come on, let's be real.
But we don't know.
But, you know, we did start out the segment by saying that the president took steps before his inauguration to come out there with his attorney saying that he took steps to separate himself from his business empire and the appearance of conflict of interest. So if there are no legal, red flags here, then it really does boil down to the optics of it.
The optics, right. It's legal versus optics. But the bottom line is there's no legal obligation, but I think he's taking the proper steps and the logical steps to create optics where he's not managing a business.
I think he should use a blind trust. I think it's safest, and I think it also allows the citizens of this country to trust him and to say he's not using his power as president to profit his businesses.
And David, you know, you're making a point to say that it is legal. Are there any pitfalls, though? Yeah, clearly there are pitfalls. You don't want to be president and managing a business especially a multi-billion-dollar empire. You can't do that, and I think he realizes that he can't do that. So therefore, he's not going to do it. Obviously, people are going to make allegations throughout his entire presidency but the bottom line is he's not president because he wants to profit off his company. I don't think many people believe that.
Well, that's what he has to convince people who think that, because, you know, most people look at him and say, okay, he's a billionaire, he's a businessman. Will he serve the citizens? Is he about the people as opposed to business? So I think he needs to prove that by separating himself, which he says he's doing. But then having your children take over the reins is kind of shady, in my opinion.
But some people may say, listen, Mr. Trump, when he was Mr. Trump, he was a successful billionaire businessman. He didn't need the presidency to move that needle for it.
Exactly. He could have just stayed in his business. He would have been fine. He did this because he wants to represent the people. He happens to be a billionaire who has this empire. And he is absolutely he's taken these sufficient steps to separate those two. And of course he's going to give it to his son to
Gotta
run.
leave it there.
All
They're
right.
telling me to wrap, so I'm hard wrap. David Schwartz, Keisha Heaven.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Erica.
Eric.
All right, guys, thanks. You know, Houston may be hosting tonight's Super Bowl, but it is